In Korea, there was a murderer who killed people every time it rained. He especially targeted women. A policeman discovered the murderer and chased this guy, but as a result, the murderer stabbed the policeman to death on the spot. The murderer then left. The death of the policeman caused his family great sorrow. In the pouring rain, all his colleagues came to see him off. The son cried miserably because he lost his father. Director Choi vowed to get justice for the boy. The director immediately went to Inspector Gu Tak and asked Gu Tak to form a team to catch dangerous criminals and by any means catch the serial killer. Inspector Gu Tak immediately agreed because his daughter also lost her life to the murderer. The past came back to him and made him extremely heartbroken. Gu Tak was a violent person, and whenever he encountered a criminal, he would beat him up without stopping. If the secretary had not stopped him, he would have beaten the criminals to death every time. The first person Gu Tak thought of to form the bad guys squad was Wong Chol. He was a notorious gangster with a 28-year prison sentence. Wong Chol considered fighting his hobby. Every day he beat up the prison guards, so the young prison guards were terrified when they saw him. The second person was Tae Soo, the leader of the 3 best assassins in Korea. The third person was a serial killer named Jung Moon, a mysterious person with an IQ of 166, and he even got a doctorate when he was only 12 years old. Jung Moon killed a total of 15 people, but never left any evidence. The only thing was that he forgot everything after killing his victims. The 3 special prisoners were quickly escorted out of the camp. They were forced to wear normal clothes and then dropped off in a deserted place. Secretary Mi Young led Tae Soo and Wong Chol into an abandoned church, but Wong Chol, who had just been released, went crazy. Seeing the killer, Tae Soo immediately rushed into a fight. At the moment of tension, Gu Tak appeared and announced that whoever caught the murderer would have their sentence reduced by 5 years. The 2 people were very interested after hearing this, but to ensure that the 2 did not escape, they were forced to wear monitoring watches on their legs. At this time, Mi Young received urgent news that the 3rd prisoner Jung Moon had knocked out the prison guard. The 2 prison guards were suddenly knocked out by him while going to the toilet. When the group arrived at the scene, he had already escaped. By this time, Jung Moon had disappeared for 2 hours. If they did not find him quickly, he might commit another murder. Wong Chol and the killer Tae Soo immediately put on ankle bracelets to track him down. At the same time, Jung Moon had boarded the train. He was on his way to find his ex-girlfriend No Soon. Inspector Gu Tak also guessed that, so the group immediately went to look for him. When they arrived, Gu Tak ordered them to find Jung Moon's whereabouts within an hour. The 2 entered the bar to look for the girl. Wong Chol didn't say much and started beating people. He only punched each of them once, causing them to fall down immediately. Suddenly, a tall and strong man appeared, but in the end, he was still punched by Wong Chol and fell to the ground. Wong Chol asked the boss where the girl was, and the boss said he had sold No Soon to another place. Wong Chol and Tae Soo went to this place to inquire, but inside was a dangerous gang of gangsters. Assassin Tae Soo went up alone to confront this group of people. Tae Soo's attacks were extremely quick and cruel, worthy of being the #1 assassin in Korea. In the blink of an eye, Tae Soo had defeated all the subordinates, which made the leader scared and begged for mercy. Tae Soo asked again where No Soon was. The 2 returned to the car and reported that Jung Moon's ex-lover had been sold elsewhere. At the same time, Jung Moon had found his ex-lover. No Soon had just laid down on the bed when someone knocked on the door. The girl opened the door and was shocked to see that it was Jung Moon. That year, Jung Moon was sentenced to life in prison because No Soon had testified, so now that No Soon saw him, she was extremely scared. She said that he had also tried to kill her that year. Strangely, Jung Moon did not remember anything. At the same time, the inspection team's car arrived at the scene. Whoever caught Jung Moon first would have his sentence reduced by 4 years. Wong Chol excitedly rushed forward because only one person had his sentence reduced by 4 years, so the 2 started fighting. Tae Soo and Wong Chol would not give in. Just when the tension was building, the door to room 203 opened, but it was someone else. The group understood that they had made a mistake. On this side, No Soon reminded Jung Moon that he had killed 15 girls, but he did not admit it to the police because he had no memory of it. No Soon said that he usually forgot things after about an hour, so he forgot the crime he had committed. Jung Moon also remembered a bit about the crime scene. He was so agitated that he suddenly strangled No Soon. It seemed that Jung Moon lost control again. Luckily, Inspector Gu Tak arrived in time and fired a shot to break the door lock. Gu Tak told Jung Moon to stop, but he still insisted on strangling No Soon. In the emergency, Gu Tak had no choice but to shoot Jung Moon in the arm. Jung Moon was shot and jumped out the window, landed on the ground, and ran away. Seeing Wong Chol waiting downstairs, Jung Moon quickly got into the car. Wong Chol angrily kicked the glass door, but Jung Moon still stabbed Wong Chol without hesitation and ran away. Seeing that, killer Tae Soo hurriedly stepped on the gas to chase. After a fierce chase, the 2 cars seemed to be approaching a fork in the road ahead. Tae-soo crashed head-on into the back of Jung-moon's car, causing him to hit his head on the steering wheel and faint. Killer Tae-soo thought that this time the credit was his, but unexpectedly Woong-chol appeared out of nowhere and took Jung-moon away right before Tae-soo's eyes. Unexpectedly, after that escape, Inspector Gu-tak still kept Jung-moon, because Gu-tak knew that only Jung-moon's super intelligence could help solve this case. Gu-tak let Jung-moon think and choose for himself. While the three were eating, Jung-moon decided to return to join them. From now on, the three most dangerous criminals would join forces to solve the case, the first target being the recent serial killer. The next day it rained, and another murder occurred. The victim was still a woman walking alone at night. Gu-tak arrived at the scene with great anger in his heart. This was the 18th victim. Secretary Mi-young was taking the three criminals to the scene, but halfway there, the killer Tae-soo asked to get out of the car. He sincerely asked to get out of the car because of some urgent matters. Gu-tak ordered from afar to agree to this. Killer Tae-soo knocked on a door, but another girl opened the door, not the girl Seok he was looking for. Tae-soo angrily knocked down the supervisor and escaped. Tae-soo drove directly past his group's car. Seeing this, Woong-chol got in the driver's seat and chased after him. While chasing, he asked if I catch Tae-soo, I could get a reduced sentence. Unfortunately, Woong-chol's driving was so bad that he ended up getting stuck in traffic and had to brake. On this side, Tae-soo went to find his boss. It turned out that he had gone to jail that year and confessed on behalf of his boss, on the condition that his boss had to send Seok 1 million every month. His boss said that I didn't know where Seok was, which made Tae-soo angrily grab his collar. Tae-soo told the boss to quickly find the address and report it to him. At that moment, there was movement outside. Tae-soo went out and saw that Gu-tak had already arrived. When Gu-tak found Tae-soo, he didn't say much. He hit Tae-soo as a warning, then took the three of them to the crime scene. Gu-tak gave them half a day to find clues about the murderer, so the three of them quickly split up to look. Since the serial murders had occurred, the streets here were deserted during the day, and no one dared to go out. Since the sentence reduction was only for whoever found the murderer first, the three of them acted on their own and didn't help each other. Especially Tae-soo and Jung-moon seemed to have a grudge from before. The two of them said that they would kill each other after finishing their work. At the same time, Woong-chol went to a factory. He didn't say anything and immediately punched away those who got in his way. No matter who it was, Woong-chol would just knock them out with one punch. Woong-chol fought for a while and entered the leader's room. At first, this person didn't know Woong-chol's strength, but was slapped by Woong-chol and fell to the ground. Woong-chol slapped him a few more times to teach him a lesson. Seeing that the gang leader had obediently obeyed Woong-chol, he told this guy and the gang to listen to Woo-chol from now on. The killer Tae-soo was at the scene. He looked at the crime scene photos and imagined himself as the murderer. There were no surveillance cameras at this location, showing that the murderer was very familiar with this residential area. Based on the stab wound, the murderer was definitely under 1.7 m tall. Tae-soo's guess was never wrong. After the group returned, no one spoke of their discovery because only one of them would have their sentence reduced. Woong-chol had just recruited a gang, so he was confident that he would catch the murderer in 3 days. At this time, Jung-moon suddenly said that the reason the murderer liked to commit crimes in the rain was because he liked the smell of blood, because the smell of blood was stronger when it rained. Jung-moon affirmed that this murderer was very professional because he only stabbed once in each case with absolute accuracy, so there was no mistake. Jung-moon asked the inspector to quickly look at the other cases to see the common point. Woong-chol felt jealous because Jung-moon was so smart. The inspector reviewed all the cases in the past 2 years and found that 20 cases occurred on rainy days. Moreover, there was a lot of blood left at the scene, so all the cases had the same culprit. Inspector Gu-tak immediately informed the group. All 15 victims had blood-sucking needle marks on their bodies, indicating that the murderer had collected the victim's blood. Furthermore, in each murder case, the victim's door was easily broken into. Of the 15 victims, 2 were still alive. Gu-tak suggested finding these 2 people to investigate. Woong-chol immediately went to see the boss he had just recruited. The boss deduced that if the murderer could easily break into the door, it was most likely the owner of the lock shop. There was only one store here. Woong-chol immediately went to ask the owner of the lock shop. Woong-chol felt that this guy seemed to be the serial killer, so Woong-chol dragged him and beat him up. But before Woong-chol could question this guy, Gu-tak came to stop him. Gu-tak Gutak warned Wung Chul not to frame the innocent. Then, Inspector Gutak and Tae-soo went to the house of the surviving victim. Unexpectedly, it was the girl Seok. Tae-soo was stunned and didn't know what to say because Tae-soo accidentally killed Seok's husband and was extremely remorseful. Although Seok didn't know this, Tae-soo still flustered and spilled a cup of tea. Seok recounted that it was raining heavily that day. She and her daughter were sleeping when the murderer entered the house to attack. Luckily, the daughter ran out in time to call for help, so the mother and daughter survived. Unfortunately, they couldn't see the murderer's face clearly. The second victim said that it was also raining heavily that night. The murderer entered the house and directly murdered her younger sister. The girl was silent, thinking that the murderer would let it go. Unexpectedly, he still beat her almost to death. Now, she still has a big scar on her face. She remembers the murderer saying that he was about to surpass Do-sik. Secretary Mi-young said that Do-sik was caught after killing 23 people in a row. Perhaps the murderer idolized Do-sik and committed the crime in the same way. If so, the murderer would have killed at least 3 more people, including the 2 lucky survivors. They suspected that the murderer would come back to kill the 2 survivors. Unfortunately, it was also raining heavily today. Wung Chul and his teammate immediately went out to ambush at the victim's house. Wung Chul just arrived and bumped into someone. When Wung Chul entered the house, he suddenly saw blood on his hands. Thinking that he had just bumped into the man in black, he immediately went out to chase after this guy. The murderer knew he had been exposed and immediately ran away. Wung Chul called the walkie-talkie while chasing after him. Gutak's group arrived at this time, and they immediately split up to chase after the murderer. Gutak saw someone and immediately hit them, but after hitting them, he realized that they were Wung Chul's subordinates. Wung Chul chased for a while and lost track of the culprit. Suddenly, a man in black rushed in and stabbed him. Luckily, the knife was caught by Wung Chul. The culprit quickly hit him in the eye and ran away. At this moment, Jung Moon suddenly appeared, but he did not go after the culprit but chose to stay and save Wung Chul. The culprit had completed his goal today, and indeed he collected blood samples for his collection. The next day, the killer Tae-soo came to the crime scene. He thought the victim was the girl Seok, so he was extremely heartbroken. Because Seok was the girl, he asked his old boss to transfer money to every month. Unexpectedly, when he pulled the zipper open, it was another girl. Tae-soo felt extremely relieved. He stood up and found Seok standing in front of him. Seok did not know that Tae-soo was the one who killed her husband. She only saw him looking at her with a regretful expression. Everyone returned to the base to prepare for the next step. Suddenly, Gutak received important news. They discovered fingerprints on the victim. The murderer was the gang leader that Wung Chul had just recruited. The media immediately reported that the serial killer had been arrested, but Jung Moon believed that the gang leader was definitely not the murderer, because the real murderer would not leave fingerprints, and Tae-soo also knew that the person arrested was 1 mate tall. This did not match his judgment. At this moment, it was raining heavily outside. Tae-soo saw this and immediately ran outside. Because the only survivor at this time was the girl Seok, she was in danger. Sure enough, Seok was being followed by the murderer at this time. The shop owner locked the door and bumped into her, causing the fruit bag to fall to the ground. He offered to personally take Seok home, but Seok politely refused. Unexpectedly, he kept holding the bag and refused to let go, and his eyes showed a terrifying murderous look. In the blink of an eye, he chased after Seok and knocked Seok out. It turned out that the real murderer was the locksmith. He grabbed Seok's hair and dragged her away like a trophy. The locksmith pulled out a knife and prepared to kill Seok. Just in time, the assassin Tae-soo arrived in time. He used one hand to knock out the murderer. Tae-soo didn't know that the murderer was the locksmith. He only knew that he had killed 22 people. Tae-soo went crazy and continuously hit the murderer until he had no more strength to resist. Tae-soo was about to kill this evil murderer. Unexpectedly, when he was about to act, Gutak suddenly stopped him. It turned out that everything was part of Gutak's plan. Tae-soo was extremely angry when he found out that Gutak used Seok as bait. He pulled out a knife and stabbed the murderer, but Gutak shot him in the hand. Luckily, Seok was not seriously injured. Gutak had no other choice but to resort to this method. It turned out that he knew that the murderer wanted to become the most famous murderer in Korea, so he pretended to force Wung Chul's subordinate to take the blame. Then he reported it all over the media. The murderer was so angry that he couldn't bear it when someone else took the blame for him, so he rushed to kill someone to show off his power. At the same time, Jung Moon was interviewing the murderer. Jung Moon asked him why there were only 22 vials of blood when there were 23 victims. The murderer said that there was 1 victim that he didn't kill. Everyone was very surprised to hear this, which meant that there was another murderer besides this one. At this moment, the police station entered and temporarily arrested the 3 Wung Chuls and took them to jail because they thought the case had been solved. Gutak was not happy with this but could do nothing. Unfortunately, that night, a girl was imprisoned. When she woke up, she found found herself in an abandoned house that was locked from the outside. She quickly called the police, but as soon as she told them the location, the murderer kicked the door open. The next day, the local police were called by the chief to scold them. They had 4 hours, but still let the murderer take the girl away. The chief was extremely angry, but the police said that they were also having a hard time because there were too many cases recently. The chief angrily chased him out. The chief had no choice but to invite the bad guys. Gu-tak followed the order and immediately went to the jail to invite Tae-soo. Tae-soo also agreed to go out and catch the criminals to get a reduced sentence. But when Gu-tak met Wong-chul was very angry because he felt he was being used. But in the end, he still agreed to go out hoping for a reduced sentence. Only Jung-moon was the calmest and immediately agreed. The bad guys gathered again. Mi-young took them to the scene. The victim passed by here and was knocked unconscious and taken away, and next to it was the place where the murderer lived. Everyone entered the scene. Tae-soo saw a phone in front of the door and put it in his pocket. Actually, it was the victim's phone that fell out. Inside was where the girl was imprisoned. Secretary Mi-young said that last night, the murderer cut the girl into 356 pieces and left the scene. But Jung-moon cleverly guessed that the murderer didn't do that because the girl had reported it to the police, so he would have to leave immediately. No matter how talented he was, he wouldn't dare stay and dismember the body. At this time, Gu-tak went to report that there was another victim, so there was only one possibility that the murderer was handling the body in the bathroom. When he heard the girl outside calling, the murderer knocked her out and ran away, which meant that the girl was still alive. At this time, Gu-tak suddenly discovered that there were traces of dragging on the ground. He turned the refrigerator over and found another refrigerator inside. What was inside shocked everyone. It turned out that the people here were in the organ business. They urgently needed to find the girl, hoping that they could still save her. At this time, the murderer was calling to sell people, and sure enough, the girl was still alive and was locked in a container, waiting to be dissected to get her organs. Jung-moon discovered a problem through the camera. When the girl was captured, there were also accomplices helping him. On this side, Wong-chul went to his subordinate to ask for help. Wong-chul gave this guy a kidney sale advertisement and asked the gang leader to go with him as bait. Tae-soo's side held the newly found phone at the scene. He brought it to a shop that specializes in buying stolen phones and asked them to help unlock it. The boss thought he was an undercover cop and refused immediately. Tae-soo angrily beat them up. In a flash, Tae-soo knocked out all the subordinates. The boss was so scared that he immediately revealed everything, including the address of the organ trafficking gang. Wong-chul's side ordered his subordinates to meet the kidney traffickers and even used the gang leader standing on the side of the road as bait. The organ trafficking gang quickly came to pick him up. The gang leader said that he had cirrhosis and diabetes. He hadn't bathed for 3 years, causing his organs to rot. The man said that if he contacted the buyer, he wouldn't regret it. After saying that this man took the gang leader along, Wong-chul also carefully followed behind. At the same time, Tae-soo followed the recommended address to find the human trafficking boss. He kept saying that this business made a lot of money. At the same time, he kept many girls serving here. Any girl who didn't listen to him would be killed and her organs sold. Tae-soo felt disgusted with him. After entering the private room, Tae-soo immediately smashed his head on the table, then took the documents about the missing girl and left. Tae-soo informed Secretary Mi-young of the victim's phone number so they could locate her. On this side, the gang leader had been taken into the restaurant by the organ trafficking gang. When Wong-chul was about to rush in, Inspector Gu-tak appeared, so the three of them decided to enter this organ selling place. Wong-chul entered and immediately knocked out a person. The person inside was the real leader. He was asking the gangster boss how much you wanted to sell your organs for. The gangster boss was so scared that I wanted to refuse and go home, but they decided to cut open the gangster boss and take all his organs. Luckily, Wong-chul arrived just in time when he was about to cut open. The leader wanted to kill Wong-chul at first sight. He immediately ordered his subordinates to rush in, but they didn't know that Wong-chul was very good at fighting with his bare hands. Because there were too many enemies, so Wong-chul was also injured. Feeling that the situation was too tense, the gangster boss dove into the water to save his life. Above, Wong-chul fought extremely hard, while the gangster boss kept coming up to catch his breath and then diving back down. Just as Wong-chul was surrounded, Gu-tak opened the gas tank and held a lighter. The leader hurriedly told Gu-tak to calm down. Seeing this, the gangster boss continued to dive into the water. Gu-tak threatened to blow up the place, so the helpless leader had to reveal the whereabouts of the person who kidnapped the girl. At the same time, the girl was in the container, kicking the door. Someone passing by accidentally heard the noise. He kindly unlocked the door to rescue the girl, but suddenly, the murderer who kidnapped the girl appeared. The murderer immediately killed the kind young man and then took the girl to the surgery site. At the same time, Secretary Mi-young got the location information and immediately reported it to Tae-soo. Tae-soo received the location and immediately drove to the rescue. Coincidentally, Gu-tak and Woong Eum-chol also arrived. The four people hurriedly went to the surgery site. Inside the surgery site, they also put the girl on the table. Unexpectedly, right before the surgery, the girl woke up and screamed loudly. Meanwhile, outside, the four people still had not found the girl's whereabouts. While they were at a dead end, they heard a cry for help. Inside, the murderer angrily beat the girl to death. He brutally beat the victim to death before taking her organs. Before he could perform the surgery, Gu-tak's group rushed in. Woong Chol punched the murderer hard without hesitation, then broke one of his arms. Gu-tak went inside and saw the girl lying motionless on the bed. He was heartbroken, remembering that his daughter had also suffered the same fate. They were all killed by these bastards. Gu-tak went crazy and pulled out his gun to shoot the murderer. Unexpectedly, the girl suddenly woke up. Gu-tak breathed a sigh of relief and was extremely happy. It was the first time the bad guys felt so moved. The police then arrived at the scene and took the criminals away, but the murderer still had an arrogant expression. Gu-tak felt regretful for not shooting him dead earlier. The girl who was saved looked at Gu-tak and expressed her gratitude. This scene was seen by the other three people, the first time they felt the joy of saving someone. Gu-tak hoped that the three people would forever remember this feeling. This action reduced each person's sentence by 5 years. In front of Woong Chol, there were only 19 years left in prison. He happily went to pee to celebrate his victory. Suddenly, a car appeared and took him away. Woong Chol was tied up and taken to a deserted building. The person who appeared in front of him was Woong Chol's old boss. The boss showed Jung Moon's photo and told Woong Chol to kill Jung Moon because Jung Moon killed a relative of the boss. At this time, Jung Moon was looking for a company that specializes in finding people. He needed to find Kang Soo. That person was holding his memories. Because Jung Moon often lost his memory, he spent a large amount of money to hire someone to secretly take pictures of his life. After 2 years, Jung Moon in prison, this person went missing. Now Jung Moon needs to find Kang Soo to regain his memory. Gu-tak's group is worried because Woong Chol is missing. Suddenly, Woong Chol returns and says he got lost. Woong Chol looks at Jung Moon, wondering when he will kill Jung Moon. A while later, the director meets Gu-tak to discuss important matters. The director reports that the upcoming battle will be extremely difficult and is afraid that someone in the group will die. The director hopes that Gu-tak will catch the mastermind. Gu-tak receives the order and immediately takes action. Gu-tak informs the group that the organ traffickers they just caught are just a small group. The mastermind behind the terrifying power can manipulate the entire government. Every day, they captured many girls who went alone, causing a stir in the entire Republic of Korea. The police knew where these people were, but they were helpless because they had no evidence. Moreover, this group of people had a very clear division of labor. Some were in charge of capturing people, some were in charge of taking organs, the rest were in charge of distributing them in the market, so they needed a plan to capture them all. Gu-tak suggested first capturing the 3 distributors. Immediately, the 3 of them split up to capture the 3 distributors. Very quickly, 2 were captured. The third person jumped out the window and ran away, but Tae-soo was waiting to kick him unconscious. Since the 3 distributors were captured, the organization had been selling organs on their own, so it was easy for Woong Chol's group to find out their whereabouts. Woong Chol suddenly appeared and ambushed them. He continuously caught small-scale trafficking cases. Tae-soo also caught other groups on this side. In just a few days, Jung Moon on this side also caught a lot of people. The organ trafficking subordinates were all taken to the old house. Here Woong Chol said that whoever did not confess would fight him, causing these people to sit in fear and bow their heads in silence. From the confessions of these people, Gu-tak reported to the director. It turned out that the mastermind of the human trafficking was Madame Huang. Madame Huang was originally Chinese. She was tired of drug trafficking, so now she switched to human organ trafficking. The director warned that she had bribed many high-ranking officials. At the same time, Secretary Mi Young was interrogating a criminal about Madame Huang's address, but he would rather die than confess. Mi Young helplessly went out to let the assassin Tae-soo in. Tae-soo didn't say much and immediately stabbed this guy in one hand. Realizing that he was still stubborn, Tae-soo immediately stabbed his other hand. Seeing that he was in unbearable pain, Tae-soo asked where Mrs. Huang was. The criminal was so scared of Tae-soo that he revealed Mrs. Huang's location, so the whole group immediately set off to her place. Gu-tak said that it was a large building with about 500 subordinates. All transactions were conducted here. Because tonight's mission was very dangerous, so Gu-tak suggested that each person in this mission would have their sentence reduced by 10 years. This scarred woman was Mrs. Huang, a ruthless killer. She had just captured the boy because his father owed her money. Coincidentally, the amount was equal to the price of the boy's father's eyes. She captured the boy's father and then put him in the furnace to get his eyes. At the same time, the bad guys arrived at the building. Gu-tak led 3 people straight in and showed his police badge. Gutak told the guard that he wanted to meet Mrs. Wang to ask for money. The guards let them in, but the guards had to leave their phones. Mrs. Wang inside received a message that someone had arrived. It turned out that she had planted someone in the police station. Tonight, the four of them were afraid that they wouldn't be able to get out of this place. Gutak was taken by someone to meet Mrs. Wang. Gutak was in the elevator with a man. Feeling danger, he pulled out his gun to defend himself. Outside, the other three people were being taken away by them to be eliminated. Jung Moon, who was extremely smart, immediately discovered the problem. He said that they had been exposed. Immediately inside the elevator, Gutak fought with the man. Outside, the guards also pulled out knives and attacked the three people. The battle was fierce, but the group of three easily won thanks to Wang Chol. Taisu told Secretary Mi Young that the police had an insider, and they asked Mi Young to quickly call the chief to send support. Unexpectedly, before Secretary Mi Young could call the chief, she was knocked unconscious by the policeman next to her. It turned out that he was also Mrs. Huang's subordinate. She happily watched the camera, waiting for the group to be destroyed. At this time, the elevator opened, and Gutak had already taken down the man. Gutak knew that Mrs. Huang was looking at him, so he immediately picked up his gun and shot straight at the camera, making Mrs. Huang extremely angry. At this time, the special task force had arrived at the basement. The team leader told his teammates to change their guns to knives to avoid being detected. It turned out that this special task force was also Mrs. Huang's subordinates. Mrs. Huang called and said that she would give the team leader a ton of gold if he could kill 4 people from Gutak's group. The team leader was extremely happy when he heard this. At the same time, Mrs. Huang ordered all 500 subordinates through the loudspeaker that whoever killed one person would be rewarded with 5 caddies of gold. She offered a huge reward for the assassins, causing these people to rush to get their weapons and immediately search for them. At the same time, she had people cut off the electricity and block all the exits. Tae-soo discovered that all the windows were locked. While the 500 assassins were frantically searching everywhere in the building with knives, Wang Chol, who was walking on this side, was suddenly ambushed. They used sticks to beat Wang Chol crazily. At the critical moment, Jung Moon used a piece of glass to hit them and pulled Wang Chol out in time. This was the second time Jung Moon saved Wang Chol. The fierce battle continued, but Jung Moon was injured because he saved Wang Chol. The two ran away with no other choice. Wang Chol helped the injured Jung Moon escape. Unfortunately, they entered the corpse room, which stunned them. They didn't know how many people they killed every day, but there was no place to hide, so the two temporarily stayed here. Wang Chol asked Jung Moon, who gave up reducing sentence to save him last time, why did Jung Moon help again today? Jung Moon said, I don't need a reduction in my sentence. What I want is to understand myself better. Jung Moon always wondered if he had killed those 15 victims. Wang Chol went out to check the situation, but as soon as he went out, he heard a noise and quickly ran away. It turned out that the special forces had come here. They discovered the blood stains and immediately followed them to the corpse room. Wang Chol saw them pull out their knives and knew right away that they were traitors. But Wang Chol suddenly remembered what the boss said to kill Jung Moon. The boss said that his daughter was killed by Jung Moon, so he wanted Wang Chol to kill Jung Moon to avenge him. Otherwise, Wang Chol himself would die. Wang Chol thought that now was the best opportunity. Just leave it alone and Jung Moon would die. The special forces found Jung Moon inside. Jung Moon was very smart and understood that these people were traitors. Even though he was seriously injured, he refused to wait for death. But because he was injured, he couldn't fight back. Jung Moon sat on the ground waiting for death. Unexpectedly, Wang Chol rushed in at the critical moment. Wang Chol told the special police to look at the room full of corpses. How could they work for such evil people? But before he could finish his sentence, the traitors rushed in and attacked. Wang Chol, with his superior physique, knocked them down. Seeing that the situation was not good, the captain pulled out a gun and shot Wang Chol. Luckily, Tae-soo took the captain's gun in time and saved Wang Chol. The two of them worked together to defeat all the traitors. Wang Chol helped Jung Moon up when Gutak arrived. Gutak pointed at the map and said that there was an elevator in the building that could escape. But to operate the elevator, someone needed to go to the basement to restart the power source. This important task was given to the assassin Tae-soo. Tae-soo had not killed anyone for a long time, but today he luckily had the opportunity, so he swung his knife and killed everyone who got in his way. Wherever Tae-soo went, people died. In no time, he reached the engineering room. He successfully connected the power to start the elevator. The three of them hurriedly got into the elevator and went to the top floor. When the elevator opened, Mrs. Huang was indeed in front of them. But surprisingly, she was not afraid at all, because 300 of her subordinates were quickly rushing in from outside. At this time, Secretary Mi Young woke up and found herself in the woods. The traitorous policeman policeman was busy digging a hole to bury her. Taking advantage of that moment, Mi-young quickly cut the rope. After digging the hole, the policeman turned around and couldn't see anyone. Secretary Mi-young suddenly rushed forward and hit him, knocking him unconscious. Then she quickly called the chief for help. On this side, 300 subordinates were frantically searching. Gu-tak and 2 others controlled Mrs. Huang and walked into the elevator. They used Mrs. Huang as a hostage in front of hundreds of subordinates. Gu-tak threatened them to put down their weapons. Unexpectedly, none of the subordinates would give up. Mrs. Huang suddenly announced that whoever killed Gu-tak's group could take over the organization from her, which stunned everyone. The assassins were overjoyed after hearing this, and they crazily charged forward to attack Gu-tak's group. Very quickly, a fierce battle ensued, with 4 people fighting against more than 300 people. Furthermore, Jung Moon was also seriously injured, but at this time the 4 people had no way to escape, so they could only fight to the death with all their might. Because the number of enemies was too large, the 4 people were quickly injured. Gradually, they lost the advantage, so the group fell into an extremely difficult situation. Fortunately, the police arrived in time, and this time the chief himself appeared. The righteous police broke the glass and rushed in to shoot and control them. The director ordered that anyone who dared to move be shot on the spot. Hearing this, Wung Chol took the opportunity to punch them one last time. Not only did the bad squad escape death, they also made a great contribution, so each of them had their sentences reduced by 10 years. As for Mrs. Huang, although she was arrested, she was still very calm, because she was confident that she could use money to bribe the law. Mi-young went over and punched her to vent anger, but they didn't know that someone was following them from afar, and this person reported that Jung Moon was still alive. Unexpectedly, a serious crime happened at the park. At this time, the killer took out a gun from its holster, loaded it, and then randomly shot one person. Then he continued to shoot many more people. Gu-tak's group immediately arrived at the scene. The scene made everyone extremely sad. The police said that the killer shot randomly, and the motive for the crime was unknown. Such a tragic incident happened in broad daylight, making it hard for Gu-tak's group to believe. Secretary Mi-young said that a similar case had happened 2 days ago. Could it be the same murderer? Gu-tak angrily ordered that if this case was solved, each person's sentence would be reduced by 5 years in prison. At night, Tae-soo immediately went to the scene to investigate. There were 6 bullet shells at the scene. 6 bullets were fired, and 6 people died immediately. It turned out that the person who used the gun was a professional sniper. Tae-soo immediately went to see his younger brother. Kang Won was also a good sniper at the shooting range. Tae-soo suspected that the murderer took the gun here, so he asked Kang Won to help investigate whether there was any case of missing guns. On this side, Wung Chol and his subordinates were investigating. Suddenly, a subordinate of his old boss appeared outside. Wung Chol suddenly remembered what his boss said. If Jung Moon didn't die within a week, he would be the one to die. It could also be said that today was Wung Chol's death day. On this side, Jung Moon, who was super smart, found an important clue. He realized that the last 2 victims of the 2 cases worked for the same company. Moreover, they were both department heads, and the murderer shot their wives before shooting them. It could be seen that the murderer had a deep grudge against the 2 department head victims. At the same time, Mi-young was at home, watching the surveillance camera, and discovered that a taxi appeared at the scene of both cases. This could be the murderer's car. She immediately reported this news to Wung Chol. Wung Chol and his subordinates immediately drove after this taxi. Just as they were about to encounter a red light, Wung Chol went up and broke the mirror. Wung Chol thought this person was the murderer. Unexpectedly, at this moment, gunshots rang out. The real murderer was shooting people right in front of Wung Chol's eyes. The crowded street immediately became chaotic. The murderer shot and said why he treated him like that. He turned to look at Wung Chol, but his gun ran out of bullets, so he had to run away. Wung Chol chose to stay and save people instead of chasing him. Suddenly, a car stopped. It was the boss. The boss said that 2 weeks had passed, and Wung Chol still hadn't killed Jung Moon. According to the agreement, Wung Chol had to die now. By the time Gu-tak arrived at the scene, the murderer and Wung Chol had disappeared. Today, 1 person died, and 4 people were seriously injured. Mi-young said that the dead person was the deputy manager of that company, and Wung Chol's anklet had lost its signal. At the same time, Wung Chol was brought before the boss. The boss let him say his last words before being killed. Wung Chol said that he was investigating a serial murder case. If he died here, they wouldn't be able to catch the murderer. The boss had just seen how cruel he was. Wung Chol begged the boss to let him catch the murderer first and then kill him. On this side, the younger brother informed Tae-soo of a clue that a hunting rifle was stolen at a shooting range half a month ago. Before leaving, Kang Won said that his older brother had just cut off one of his legs. Kang Won told Tae-soo to be careful, or else the older brother would kill Tae-soo. Then Tae-soo received a call from Wung Chol. Wung Chol said that the murderer said something at the scene. He asked why treated him like like that. Wung Chol asked Tae-soo to definitely catch the culprit. After saying that, Wung Chol immediately hung up the phone. But before Tae-soo could return to report, he was blocked by a few strangers. They came to hire Tae-soo to kill Jung-moon. Tae-soo didn't want to betray his teammates for money, so he immediately attacked these people. In the blink of an eye, he had taken down all of them. Tae-soo asked who hired them, but before he could ask, the police arrived. Tae-soo was taken to the police station because of a fight. Tae-soo told Gu-tak the address of a sniper range where his hunting rifle was lost. Now the group could only rely on the smartest person, Jung-moon. According to the owner of the range, there used to be two people who used to come here to practice together. After losing their rifle, they didn't come anymore. Gu-tak and Jung-moon immediately split up to look for these two people. Jung-moon broke the door and immediately captured one person. On this side, Gu-tak went to the other person and saw a lot of bullets on the table, as well as a family photo of him. But this person had disappeared. Gu-tak immediately went back to interrogate the other murderer, who said that he had only killed because he was ordered to. At the same time, he confessed that the escaped person still intended to kill one more person, with the purpose of killing the company director. Sure enough, the other murderer was looking at the director's photo at this time. He hid in the taxi waiting for an opportunity, even loading bullets into his gun ready to kill. The next day, Gu-tak arranged for the director to walk in the park as bait, and at the same time had many secret agents ambush around. Among them was the intelligent Jung-moon standing next to him. Very quickly, the murderer brought a gun to the scene. He held the shotgun and slowly aimed at the director, while the director stood there completely unaware. Luckily, super smart Jung-moon discovered him. Just as he aimed at the director and was about to pull the trigger, Jung-moon called out the killer's name in time. Unexpectedly, he still stood up and shot the director. Luckily, the gun jammed and couldn't fire. The killer was scared and ran away. He used the gun to control a girl as a hostage. Jung-moon calmly told him not to get agitated and at the same time told him all the murderer's motives for killing. It turned out that the company director had fired 20 people to compensate for embezzlement of public funds. The department head directly ordered him fired, which drove him crazy, and he took revenge. He killed more innocent people so that the police could not deduce anything. Unexpectedly, Jung-moon was so smart that he could read all of his thoughts. Jung-moon stepped forward and cursed him for being so savage and cruel. As Jung-moon spoke, he approached the muzzle of this guy gun and said that if you wanted to kill someone, then kill me too. As Jung-moon spoke, he held the gun tightly to himself. The murderer suddenly became afraid and did not dare to shoot, so Jung-moon took the opportunity to snatch the murderer's gun. Jung-moon pointed the gun straight at the murderer's face and prepared to pull the trigger, but before he could, Gu-tak came to stop him. Thanks to that, the murderer was not killed by Jung-moon. At this time, a person came to see Gu-tak. He was Prosecutor Jae-won, an extremely ambitious person for power. He was sent to supervise the activities of the rogue squad. Later, the entire case had to be handed over to him. Gu-tak angrily endured and left. On this side, the gang leader's men took Wung Chol to the car to bury him. A moment later, they dug a large hole in the mountain. The leader planned to bury Wung Chol alive here. The leader threw back the ring that Wung Chol had given him 25 years ago. Then the leader left, leaving his subordinates to throw dirt at Wung Chol. Not long after, Gu-tak's group followed the location of the anklet to the place, just in time when the group of subordinates finished burying and were about to leave. Tae-soo didn't say much and decisively defeated all of them. Gu-tak asked about Wung Chol's whereabouts, but the subordinate refused to tell him. When everyone felt extremely desperate, Wung Chol suddenly crawled up from the ground. The boss called to say that he had spared Wung Chol's life and had turned on the GPS for Wung Chol's men to pick him up. From now on, the friendship between the two ended. The boss was still talking when suddenly a car blocked the road. Before the driver could say anything, he was stabbed to death by a stranger. The boss hurriedly climbed into the driver's seat, but before he could run, the stranger smashed the car window. The boss had no choice but to rush out to fight the assassins, but a large number of assassins surrounded the boss. Wung Chol kept calling the boss, but the boss didn't answer. At this time, the boss was still fighting the assassins, but was quickly injured by the assassins. The boss was quickly controlled. Only then did the boss realize that his subordinates had betrayed him. The man immediately swung the pistol and knocked him unconscious. Wung Chol was extremely panicked when he heard the sound of the pistol. Wung Chol tells Gu-tak that his boss has been arrested. Wung Chol begs Gu-tak to go save his boss. Mi-young says that it is absurd for the police to rescue gangsters, but Gu-tak is actually the boss's best friend. So Gu-tak lies that a big riot could happen in the gang without their leader as an excuse to help Wung Chol save people. At this time, the boss wakes up in the back of the car trunk. Gu-tak understood that there was probably internal chaos in the gang. The boss had a total of 10 leaders under him, each in charge of a different province. The culprit was definitely one of these 10 people. Wung Chol immediately immediately held a gang meeting to find the culprit, and he was the second in command in the gang after the boss. Wung Chul carefully observed the 10 leaders. The 10 leaders sat solemnly waiting for orders. Wung Chul said that the boss was busy and couldn't show up. The boss had something to tell everyone, that the monthly tax everyone would pay would increase by 30% from now on. After Wung Chul finished speaking, he observed the reactions of the 10 people. The 9 dissatisfied leaders could be eliminated. Only Mu Jin with a scratch on his face had a hidden expression. It seemed that he was the culprit. After he left, Wung Chul immediately called Inspector Gu Tak to follow him. Sure enough, the boss was in Mu Jin's trunk. Mu Jin called his subordinates to take the boss to the port to kill the boss. This call was overheard by Gu Tak's group. Now they had to split into 2 groups. Wung Chul drove Tae-soo and Jung Moon to save the boss, while Gu Tak stayed behind to lead a group of thugs. They rushed into the base of the traitor Mu Jin. Gu Tak shot and killed a subordinate, then threatened to force Mu Jin to meet him. Gu Tak sat and talked to him to stall for time. At the same time, the 3 of them arrived at the port. They drew their weapons and advanced together. Unexpectedly, when they opened the door and went inside, they saw no one, so Wung Chul quickly reported this news to Gu Tak. But before he could say anything, the traitor subordinates surrounded them, and leading them was another commander. He wanted to kill both Mu Jin and the boss to take power. Wung Chul didn't say much and immediately rushed into close combat. Once again, 3 people fought against more than 100 people. Fortunately, they were all people with excellent fighting skills, so dealing with the subordinates was not difficult. Tae-soo missed an important phone call. The boss called Tae-soo, but he did not answer, so he took out a gun and gave it to Tae-soo's younger brother. Then both of them went to kill someone. The melee was still going on here. The group of 3 had completely won. Wung Chul called the traitor to quickly release the person, but he understood that if he released the boss, he would definitely die. So he still decided to kill the boss and escape abroad. The boss was locked in the trunk of the car and suddenly saw the phone. The boss immediately called the police. Mi Young immediately reported the boss's location to Wung Chul. He immediately sped up to chase after. It was a black car with an unknown license plate. Gu Tak immediately told the boss to try to open the trunk so they could identify the car, but no matter how hard the boss tried, he couldn't open it. Jung Moon was very smart and told the boss to quickly break the rear lights. The boss listened and tried to get the car lights to fall down. Wung Chul behind immediately identified the target car. Unexpectedly, a passerby told the traitors that the rear lights fell off, and the traitors immediately discovered that someone was following them, so they suddenly changed direction, causing many cars behind to brake suddenly, causing a traffic jam. Jung Moon was very smart and stole a motorcycle to chase them. He used a stick to smash the car window, causing them to lose control and have to brake suddenly. The traitors all fainted because they hit their heads due to the sudden braking. Jung Moon opened the trunk to save the boss. The boss did not expect that the person who saved him would be the one to die. The boss held a knife and walked behind Jung Moon. After all, the mysterious person ordered him to kill Jung Moon. The boss suddenly stabbed Jung Moon in the hand and said that if Jung Moon died, everything would be fine. Jung Moon also pulled out a stick to defend himself. Just as the 2 were about to fight, Wung Chul came to stop them. Wung Chul held the knife tightly and begged the boss to spare Jung Moon's life. The boss was still very angry at first, but seeing Wung Chul's sincerity, he finally let go of the knife. The boss thanked Gu Tak and left. A moment later, the group gathered in the house. Jung Moon asked Wung Chul who the mysterious person was who ordered the boss to kill him, but in fact, Wung Chul did not know clearly. After this incident, the group returned to the prison. Tae-soo was also very confused, not understanding who was behind the murder of Jung Moon. The next day, Gu Tak reported that Tae-soo's master had died. Tae-soo went to the morgue to see his master's face. After all, he was the one who raised Tae-soo, so Tae-soo was very heartbroken. Tae-soo realized that his master had been stabbed once through the heart through the axillary artery, showing that the killer was in the top 3 best assassins in Korea. At this time, Gu Tak received a message for an emergency meeting. It turned out that Prosecutor Jae-won had been waiting at the base. He now had the right to lead the bad guys squad. Prosecutor Jae-won projected the image of the killer through the fingerprints left by the killer to Tae-soo's younger brother. Tae-soo knew that this was not done by his younger brother. The group arrived and found Tae-soo's younger brother dead. The police said that Kang-won left this world on his own. Tae-soo knew that was not true because his younger brother was planning to get married next month. Kang-won's girlfriend was heartbroken and cried bitterly. Tae-soo promised Kang-won's girlfriend that he would definitely find the killer. Tae-soo remembered that his younger brother had told him to be careful of his eldest brother. It was obvious that his eldest brother had done this. Among the 3 killers, his eldest brother was the best. Tae-soo reported this to Gu Tak. Such a good killer must be Tae-soo's eldest brother. After saying that, Tae-soo went to see the broker to ask for news about his eldest brother, but now Mr. Kim them had retired, so the contact person had changed to another young person. Gutak went to the scene of Tae-soo's younger brother's death to investigate. Gutak followed the last bloodstain and found a photo under the table. Unexpectedly, the photo was of Jung Moon. At the same time, Jung Moon was also looking at the camera when the incident happened. Unexpectedly, a group of gangsters suddenly entered with weapons. Fortunately, Woong Chol appeared in time to knock them down. On this side, Tae-soo found a contact. Tae-soo pressed this guy down in the hot water bath to interrogate who hired someone to kill Jung Moon, but he said he didn't know the person's face, only knowing that the mysterious person later hired Tae-soo's eldest brother to kill Jung Moon. At the same time, Jung Moon was standing alone when suddenly someone passed by and stabbed him in the armpit. Fortunately, Woong Chol took Jung Moon to the hospital in time. Tae-soo also came to the scene when he heard the news. Gutak said that there were Woong Chol's fingerprints on the knife. Perhaps this time, the assassins like to blame others. Gutak wondered who the mysterious man was. Tae-soo said that the contact knew his face, but when the two arrived, the contact had already been murdered. At the same time, the assassin who had just stabbed Jung Moon was called by Tae-soo's eldest brother. The eldest brother immediately broke the assassin's neck and murdered him for not completing the mission. Now the eldest brother's face was officially revealed. The eldest brother then made an appointment to meet Tae-soo at the port, and he revealed that the assassin had come to the hospital to murder Jung Moon. Sure enough, the assassin had arrived at the hospital at this time, and he took out poison to inject into the IV. Woong Chol unexpectedly caught him in time and punched the assassin in the face. The assassin also fought back fiercely, but was ultimately defeated by Woong Chol. On this side, Tae-soo asked the eldest brother why you killed my master and Kang-won. The eldest brother said that the mysterious man ordered Tae-soo to be killed, and that his master and Kang-won wanted to protect Tae-soo, so the eldest brother killed him. Tae-soo was extremely angry when he heard that. He put on black gloves and got ready to fight, then rushed into a fierce fight with his eldest brother. The two best assassins in Korea rushed into a fierce melee. The eldest brother had the advantage because he had a knife, so he was able to cut one line in Tae-soo's arm in the blink of an eye. In a critical moment, Tae-soo used a wooden board to hit him, then used a small piece of wood as a weapon instead of a knife. Thanks to his skills, Tae-soo stabbed his eldest brother in the thigh, and then stabbed his eldest brother in the armpit. Using only a piece of wood, Tae-soo won completely. Now Tae-soo only needed to twist his brother's neck and he would die. But now, Tae-soo had changed and didn't want to kill anyone. Tae-soo said that they were family after all. It wasn't the eldest brother's fault, but the mysterious person who hired him. But the eldest brother was so remorseful for killing both Kang-won and his master that he left this world right in front of Tae-soo. Tae-soo sadly returned home to see Seok. Seok thanked him again for saving her life last time. Tae-soo wanted to confess that he killed her husband, but didn't have the courage. He went to the stairs and sat crying alone because he lost both his master and his two brothers today. On this side, Jung Moon had woken up. The phone on the table had a voice message saying that the person holding his memories had been found. Jung Moon heard the news and immediately put on his shirt and left the hospital. He followed the address to the place where he met Kang-soo. Jung Moon wanted to ask if he had killed 15 victims. Unexpectedly, Kang-soo's answer was true. At that time, Kang-soo followed Jung Moon to take pictures every day. Every place Jung Moon left, a murder occurred. The conversation between the two was clearly heard by Gutak outside. Because Gutak's daughter was one of the victims that year, Kang-soo now gave all the photos to Jung Moon. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m., Jung Moon would go out to find a target to kill. When they entered the house, Jung Moon would follow them in. About an hour later, he came out and the victims were all murdered. Jung Moon said Kang-soo that had ever you see me kill anyone with your own eyes. Jung Moon looked at the photos and saw that every case had a black car. Jung Moon felt that he still had teammates. It seemed that this black car was the only clue. Gutak thought that Jung Moon killed his daughter, so that day he followed Jung Moon and pulled out a gun. He just wanted to kill Jung Moon to avenge his daughter. Just when Gutak was about to shoot, a police car arrived, so he had to stop. It turned out that the prosecutor and Mi-young had come to pick him up. A moment later, Jung Moon was taken to the hospital. Gutak was waiting and asked Jung Moon if he was happy to kill my daughter, and after saying that, he fell towards Jung Moon. Jung Moon was very smart and asked Gutak if he was sure that I killed your daughter. Jung Moon said that if Gutak wanted to know the truth, then help him find the clue. This sentence made Gutak calm down. Jung Moon asked Gutak to help him find the black car because it was the only clue to find the real culprit. Gutak immediately went to the police station to investigate the car. The co-workers quickly found the owner of the car, Jin Suk. This person had been an illegal taxi driver for many years. Gutak got the information and quickly left. He returned to the hospital to report the news to Jung Moon. The two went outside and called this illegal driver to pick them up. Jung Moon looked at this person and immediately remembered that this person was the one who accompanied him every time time he killed someone. This person was also scared when he saw Jung Moon, but before he could run away, Jung Moon caught him and beat him up. Jin Soo quickly confessed that he was only following Dr. Kim's orders. The two immediately went to the hospital to see this doctor, but unfortunately, when they entered, they couldn't find Dr. Kim anywhere. The nurse said that Dr. Kim had moved to another place a year ago. The two followed the address to a poor rural area. At this time, Dr. Kim appeared. When he saw Jung Moon, he immediately ran away. Gu-tak chased after and knocked down Dr. Kim. When Gu-tak was about to handcuff Dr. Kim for investigation, Jung Moon suddenly electrocuted Gu-tak, causing him to faint. It turned out that Jung Moon knew that Gu-tak almost shot him last night, so now he didn't trust Gu-tak anymore. Jung Moon wanted to go find the truth alone. He took Dr. Kim to the car, but before he could leave, he was injected with anesthetic in his leg. Jung Moon fainted on the spot. Dr. Kim forced Jung Moon to take him away, causing Gu-tak to call Jung Moon over and over again. Gu-tak was depressed about the old house that he kept breaking and tearing apart. He was really at a loss as to who killed his daughter. Gu-tak recalled the story from 2 years ago, when many cases appeared in the area he had just arrived. This girl was the 14th victim, and there were no fingerprints at the scene. Moreover, all the murdered people had their fingernails cut because the murderer was afraid of leaving his DNA in the victim's fingernails. The lack of traces at the scene showed that the murderer was extremely intelligent. Gu-tak has only one daughter, so he loves her very much. That day, while Gu-tak was sleeping, he received a report from his teammates. The forensics said that the murderer used kerosene to erase traces at the crime scene, and this kerosene is sold at every gas station. So Gu-tak decided to investigate all the people who bought kerosene at the nearby gas stations. After a month of investigating all the surveillance cameras, Gu-tak finally identified the suspect as Jung Moon. The group immediately went to his apartment, and when they broke in, they found Jung Moon and his girlfriend. Gu-tak asked Jung Moon what he bought the white kerosene for. Jung Moon replied that his girlfriend bought the kerosene to paint oil paintings. Gu-tak was still wondering why Jung Moon was present at every crime scene. Jung Moon could not answer because he had lost his memory. That day, Gu-tak misunderstood Jung Moon as the murderer, so Gu-tak turned off the surveillance camera and then used tricks to force Jung Moon, who had lost his memory, to confess to killing 14 girls. That year, Gu-tak wanted to make a contribution so much that he'd blindly believe that Jung Moon was the murderer. Because there was no evidence, Gu-tak could not charge Jung Moon. Moreover, because Jung Moon had a mental health certificate, Jung Moon was released after 2 days of detention. Jung Moon accidentally witnessed Gu-tak sitting and talking with his daughter. Jung Moon praised Gu-tak's daughter as very beautiful. Jung Moon left, making Gu-tak feel scared. That night, Gu-tak cooked dinner and waited for his daughter to come home. Unexpectedly, he had to leave urgently just before eating. When his daughter came home, someone knocked on the door. Thinking it was father, the daughter went out to greet him. Unexpectedly, the murderer came in and took the girl's life. When Gu-tak returned home, his daughter was dead. Gu-tak already believed that Jung Moon was the murderer, so after this incident, he believed even more that Jung Moon was the murderer. Gu-tak was so heartbroken that he lost his mind. When Gu-tak went to the morgue to look at his daughter's body again, the forensic doctor said that the murderer also used kerosene to wipe the body. Gu-tak immediately thought that the murderer was Jung Moon, because that day Jung Moon was also taken to the scene by the doctor. Gu-tak angrily went to see Jung Moon and wanted to kill Jung Moon, but before he could shoot, his teammates stopped him. After this incident, Gu-tak was fired by his superiors, but Gu-tak was still determined to take revenge. He immediately went to see Jung Moon's girlfriend. Gu-tak discovered that the girl was in debt and had to work as a waitress, so Gu-tak offered Jung Moon's girlfriend a lot of money to help him create a fake scene that Jung Moon wanted to kill her. The girl agreed because she was greedy for money. She went home and turned everything upside down to create a crime scene, then went to the police station to report that Jung Moon wanted to kill her. Thanks to this trap, Jung Moon was immediately arrested. His girlfriend testified in court, and because of that, Jung Moon was sentenced to life in prison. After that, Gu-tak gave the girl a large sum of money. Gu-tak's blind trust caused Jung Moon to be wrongfully imprisoned. Back to the present, Jung Moon was arrested by Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim suddenly gave Jung Moon a lot of medicine, which caused him to temporarily lose his memory, and took him to the crime scenes. Gu-tak reported Jung Moon's disappearance to Mi Young, and immediately set out to find Jung Moon and Dr. Kim. At the same time, Wong Chol received news that his boss had died. He was heartbroken and went to receive his boss's body. The prosecutor said that the knife at the scene had the killer's fingerprints, which coincided with the surveillance camera, showing that it was Jung Moon. It was clear that the murderer had killed the gang leader and framed Jung Moon, but Wong Chol was misled by the evidence. He vowed to avenge his gang leader. At the gang leader's funeral, Wong Chol gathered 800 subordinates in front of him and then gave each of them a picture of Jung Moon. Wong Chol ordered all 30,000 subordinates experts in the gang to hunt down Jung-moon with all their might within 3 days. At the same time, Jung-moon also woke up and he was surprised to find his hands covered in blood. Jung-moon was confused because drug had made him lose all his memories. At this moment, Dr. Kim appeared. Dr. Kim quickly electrocuted Jung-moon and knocked him out. At the same time, Gu-tak found the police comrades and asked them to help him find Dr. Kim. A moment later, the doctor splashed water on Jung-moon to wake him up. Then a few subordinates came and prepared to take Jung-moon away. Dr. Kim told them to handle it quickly, and just like that, Jung-moon was taken away and killed. At the same time, the gang's juniors were searching for Jung-moon everywhere. They accidentally saw Jung-moon being arrested while passing by. When the car stopped at a red light, they quickly rushed over and surrounded him. They thought they would catch Jung-moon this time, but the group of assassins hit the man straight into the car. They turned the wheel and threw the man onto the road. Taking advantage of that moment, Jung-moon electrocuted the driver and knocked him out. The car lost control, crashed into the guardrail on the side of the road and stopped. Jung-moon was lucky to survive and got out. The gangsters came and said that he was the one who killed their boss. Jung-moon knew he was wronged, so he ran away. Because he was injured, he temporarily hid in a hotel. The gangsters also chased closely behind. Jung-moon hid in an empty room, then used his intelligence to set up an electric trap, waiting for the other people to enter the room. Jung-moon threw electricity down to shock the 3 people. Then Jung-moon successfully escaped. When Wong-chol arrived, the 3 people were still unconscious. Jung-moon was missing, and no one knew where he went. Gu-tak heard that Jung-moon was missing and immediately went to see Jung-moon's girlfriend. Sure enough, Jung-moon missed his girlfriend so much that he went to her. A subordinate saw her and immediately reported the news to Wong-chol. Tae-soo, who had been listening in on the phone, immediately drove here. When Jung-moon went to his girlfriend's house, Gu-tak suddenly appeared behind him. Gu-tak continuously beat Jung-moon. Until now, Gu-tak still thinks Jung-moon is the murderer of his daughter. Unexpectedly, before he could shoot, Wong-chol came to stop him. Wong-chol thought that Jung-moon's life should be his. Gu-tak wanted to chase after him, but was stopped by Tae-soo. Tae-soo beat Gu-tak up because he thought Gu-tak was behind the hiring of assassins to kill his master and younger brother. On Wong-chol's side, he continuously beat Jung-moon to avenge his boss. He was completely unaware that he was being used by others. In the end, he had to kill Jung-moon, who had saved his life many times. Tae-soo held the gun and was about to shoot Gu-tak. He let Gu-tak say his last words, but Gu-tak just smiled and said nothing. In the end, Tae-soo still couldn't kill Gu-tak. Tae-soo chose to trust Gu-tak. On this side, Wong-chol pulled out a knife and prepared to kill Jung-moon. Jung-moon also accepted death to be at peace. For many years he was wrongly accused of killing 15 people, which was enough. Hearing this, Wong-chol suddenly stopped. He believed that Jung-moon was not the murderer. Wong-chol decided to help Jung-moon vindication. Hearing this, Jung-moon was deeply moved. At the same time, the director went to a deserted place to meet prosecutor Jae-won. The evil prosecutor suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed the director. He wanted to replace the director and take complete power. On this side, the 4 people put aside their personal grudges to go find Dr. Kim. Gu-tak suddenly received a phone call from the dying director. The director told Gu-tak to stay calm and find the murderer. Before he could finish his sentence, the director passed away. The bad squad immediately went to the scene and found that the director was dead. Suddenly, prosecutor Jae-won and many police officers appeared. The extremely arrogant prosecutor blamed the rogue squad for killing the chief. But Gu-tak immediately grabbed his hand and said that he stabbed too hard, which was why he got cut by the knife. The exact statement left the prosecutor speechless. He angrily ordered his subordinates to eliminate Gu-tak's group. Jung-moon looked at the subordinate and recognized him as an assassin. This man's martial arts were no less than the assassin Tae-soo's. The 2 sides then engaged in a fierce fight. Tae-soo fought with the police captain, while Wong-chol took down a man with just 1 punch. Gu-tak stood outside and used gun to support him, while Jung-moon intelligently drove away. He then rushed straight into the middle of the siege to rescue the group and escape. Prosecutor Jae-won blamed the police captain for letting them escape. He ordered the troops to be gathered and eliminate Gu-tak's group immediately. Then the evil prosecutor called the government to report that the rogue squad had killed the chief. At the same time, an emergency meeting was held for all Seoul police. The news that the bad guys had killed the chief and successfully escaped was issued, and a wanted notice was issued for the group of 4. The wanted notice was quickly broadcast nationwide. The news of the 4 escaping was all over the television, and at the same time, prosecutor Jae-won ordered that if they encountered the 4, they should be shot dead immediately without arresting them. Because they were wanted, so Gu-tak and the 3 of them could not go anywhere. They could only hide in an abandoned house. The first thing they had to do was capture Dr. Kim because he was directly connected to prosecutor Jae-won's assassin, so all the truth will be revealed. Unexpectedly, when the group was on the way to find Dr. Kim, they discovered that he had been taken away by the police. Prosecutor Jae-won personally assigned someone to protect Dr. Kim, but Jung-moon was very smart and still thought of a way to catch him. Jung-moon called Mi-young for help. That night when Dr. Kim's house suddenly had a power outage, a call came in unexpectedly. Mi-young reported that the bad guys were in the house and told him to go out and hide. Dr. Kim immediately went down to the basement, but before he could get in the car, the police chief came to stop him. Dr. Kim didn't believe this guy, so he quickly ran towards the car. Gutak's group was waiting, forced Dr. Kim into the car and ran away. The polices were helpless and ran after them on foot, unable to do anything. When they got home, Woong Chol interrogated Dr. Kim, but he refused to tell anyone. Seeing that Tae-soo didn't say much and used a hammer to smash his foot, Dr. Kim immediately told them everything. Dr. Kim said that Prosecutor Jae-won was really a very cruel person. He wanted to kill the families of the criminals he imprisoned, and then planned to put all the blame on Jung-moon by giving Jung-moon a nerve inhibitor that caused temporary memory loss. Each time the prosecutor would kill a girl, then the doctor would have someone bring the amnesiac Jung-moon to the scene. All 14 girls were murdered by Prosecutor Jae-won's orders to the police chief. They used kerosene to wipe away all traces. Woong Chol's boss was also killed by the prosecutor in this way. Gutak asked why the prosecutor killed so many girls. Dr. Kim replied that because his wife was murdered, the prosecutor directly killed the criminal's wife in revenge. Then he chose 14 other girls, who were all wives of criminals. Only Gutak's daughter was not. Because at that time Prosecutor Jae-won wanted Jung-moon to go to jail instead, and they knew that Gutak had suspected Jung-moon as the culprit, so the prosecutor killed Gutak's daughter himself to provoke Gutak to arrest Jung-moon. At the same time, the prosecutor was afraid that everything would be exposed, so he hired many assassins to kill Jung-moon. After hearing this, Gutak could not believe the truth. He deeply regretted causing Jung-moon to be wrongfully imprisoned over the years. Gutak went out to apologize to Jung-moon, saying that he really did not deserve to live in this world anymore. Gutak gave Jung-moon his gun. He wanted to use his life to make up for his mistakes. Jung-moon raised the gun, but did not shoot. Even though Jung-moon had been wronged for so many years, he still generously forgave Gutak. Jung-moon said that the important thing now was to make that prosecutor pay for his crimes. The group started to plan. They knew that the prosecutor had tapped Mi-young's phone, so Gutak pretended to meet Mi-young at the port, saying that he would take Dr. Kim there. The prosecutor immediately fell into the trap after eavesdropping. He quickly mobilized people to go there. Tae-soo knew that this mission could mean death, so he hurriedly went to Sok's house. Tae-soo knelt down and confessed that he had killed her husband. He turned himself in and was sentenced to 22 years in prison. Sok was so heartbroken after hearing this that she sat down on the ground and cried in despair. The confession made Tae-soo feel relieved. He didn't expect to be forgiven, but he was willing to sacrifice his life to capture the prosecutor. The next day, the group gathered for the final battle. The prosecutor sent hundreds of assassins to ambush at the port. Gutak pretended to call and revealed Dr. Kim's location on the ship. The prosecutor, who overheard, thought it was real and ordered the captain to immediately lead hundreds of subordinates onto the ship. Woong Chol waited there and started fighting. He alone faced off against hundreds of assassins. Woong Chol would knock one out with every punch. Tae-soo also appeared to help. Tae-soo's attacks were extremely agile and decisive, finishing off his enemies. At this moment, the best captain appeared. Without saying much, Tae-soo immediately rushed into a fight with this guy. Last time the two of them still had no clear winner. This time someone would definitely die here. Woong Chol on this side was still in the upper hand, completely giving the enemy no chance to fight back. At this time, Gutak started to bring out bait. Prosecutor Yen fell into the trap and immediately chased after him. Jung-moon led the hooded man to run away. The prosecutor pulled out his gun and shot behind him. Tae-soo's side was still fighting fiercely with the captain. The captain used a knife to slash continuously but did not hit Tae-soo. He clamped his leg around Tae-soo's neck to create a lock, but unexpectedly, Tae-soo lifted him up, causing his spine to break. Just like that, the captain was crippled for life. On this side, Woong Chol fought alone against 100 enemies. Although he had an outstanding physique, because the enemy was too numerous, he gradually lost strength. Woong Chol thought he would die here today, but Tae-soo suddenly appeared to help. Seeing his teammates, Woong Chol immediately regained his spirit. He acted decisively and strongly, and in the blink of an eye, the two of them had defeated all the remaining assassins. On this side, the prosecutor chased the two of them to a room. Seeing Jung-moon injured and unable to resist, he triumphantly confessed all his crimes. He still considered killing the relatives of the prisoners a suitable punishment. Jung-moon said that it was just his momentary desire, and the relatives of the murderers were also ordinary people who had done nothing wrong. The prosecutor pulled out a gun to shoot shoot Jung Moon, but at this moment, Gu-tak took off his hood. He suddenly knocked down the evil prosecutor. After that, Gu-tak continuously beat the prosecutor to avenge his daughter. If Jung Moon hadn't stopped him, he would have been beaten to death by Gu-tak. Gu-tak pointed to the camera and walked out. All his confessions were recorded. Mi-yeon led people in to arrest the prosecutor. Woong Chol and Tae-soo had their sentences reduced to just a few years in prison, and Jung Moon was innocent, so he was released. The movie ends here. If you find it interesting, please subscribe to the channel to support us. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.